In today's video, we're going to talk about blush placement and the most common blush mistake that I see that I'm guilty of making myself. I know, I am, you guys. I have done my blush like this for years, but it's time to embrace a new approach to lift and give a more youthful look. Let's get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm starting this off with almost a full face of makeup. You can see I've got foundation, I've got my concealer, and I even have some eye makeup on. Now, the beauty of foundation is that it's designed to conceal and perfect and give a very flawless look and finish to the skin, which is lovely. But what also happens in that process is that you kind of lose any structure and dimension to the face because everything is just one shade, right? So the idea of contouring is to enhance and define your facial structure, your cheekbones, or create definition that might not be there, kind of trick the eye with makeup. Now, I don't use bronzer and contour. I rarely do the two together for like everyday wear. If I have a special event or a photo shoot, I will. But today we're going to be using the Jane Iredale stick in the shade Sizzle. This is a cream bronzer stick. And I do want to thank Jane Iredale because I did team up with them for this video. Jane Iredale is one of my favorite brands. If you watch my videos on my channel and you've been here a while, you know that I love Jane Iredale. So I'm going to be using their bronzer stick in the shade Sizzle. And what I like about this tone is it's really nice. It's got some warmth to it, which is perfect and what you want to see in a bronzer, but it's not too warm or too orangey. It's a really good tone to create some definition, but also warm up the skin. Now, I personally love to apply my cream products with a brush and directly from a brush, even if it's in a stick formula. I like to take the brush to the product and then go to the skin rather than, using the stick directly to the skin. I'm going to show you both methods, and it really is just a personal preference. So obviously the pros to using the stick directly to the skin is convenience. It's very easy. That's probably why you purchased it in a stick, right? Now the benefits to applying it straight to the brush is that you have a little bit more control over the application. But let's go ahead and get started. Now let's talk about placement for your bronzer or your contour. I always like to apply that product before I apply blush. Blush is kind of the last product unless I'm doing a highlight, and then that might be the last product, but I always start with creating that definition. So I like to kind of feel where my bone is. This is my actual bone, and you want to start back here at the hairline and apply it to create some definition. I like to hug just under that or right on it. Now, one mistake that I see a lot, and I will raise my hand of being guilty of doing this, is just bringing that bronzer and that contour too far over of the face. And I think we do it. I think I do it because I feel like, I want to see it. And so I bring it over so I can see it directly in the mirror, but you try and refrain. You want to keep that product back and not bring it over too far over to the face because it's just going to kind of drag the face down, look a little bit too heavy, and not achieve the results that we're looking for. So I like to say start with a conservative amount. So I'm going to take this product and I'm just going to do a light little line right here. You can see it's a really short line. I'm going to go in with my brush and I'm just going to kind of blend this into the skin by pressing the brush pretty firmly on top of the product. Okay, now that's a good little starting point, but I can definitely apply more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this stick and I'm going to go directly to it with the 108 brush. And this is another reason why I like to do this, because if you choose the right brush, you'll get the application in the exact area that you want it in. And I find the 108 brush is a really great size. If you just press it and press pretty firmly onto the skin, you're going to blend out that product and it's going to be just in the area that you want it. Not too thin, but not spread too far either. And do you see what we're doing? We're kind of gradually building and creating that warmth. Now, when you're working with a contour, you particularly want to be very careful with the placement. If it's a bronzer and it's the right shade, you can kind of afford to dust it in the center of the face or be a little more liberal with it to get kind of that sun-kissed look. I really love to take bronzer right here along the hairline. So my kind of placement for bronzer is right at the hairline and the forehead and kind of bring it down here. Now some people can also bring it on the jawline if you want to define the jawline. I don't usually do that, but you can also do that too if you have more of a rounded jawline and you want to create some more definition. I love this formula. It just blends out really beautifully. It's very easy to work with. It's very smooth and consistent. It's not patchy. when you're looking at cream or liquid formulas, it's really important to make sure you find one that has enough pigment, but not too much, because when you're working with products that are really overly pigmented, they can be very difficult to blend out. You can apply too much and it's harder to fix that sometimes. Another brush that people love from BK Beauty to apply cream, bronzer, or contour is the 109. That's also a really nice one. I kind of go through these phases. Of course, I love all of our brushes. I created them, but I kind of rotate. Right now I'm on the 108 kick for bronzer. I love this shade. It's so good. It's like the perfect bronzer shade. What I also love about working with cream products is that you're going to get that glow and that highlight to the skin because the formula is a creamy formula, but not because there's any shimmer to it. And especially when you're looking at skin that has more texture to it, whether that's pores or fine lines or wrinkles, if you use powders that have too heavy of shimmers, it can just magnify that texture. So working with cream products is a really beautiful way to get a natural looking highlight that's complementary and flattering to more mature or textured skin. Okay, once I have that shape, do you see what we're doing now? We're creating some shape to the face. You can see it coming to life as I'm applying. Then I'll just go and kind of perfect everything. I took it a little too high. Do you see how I took the bronzer a little too high there? That's actually where we want to have our blush. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this bronzer and I'm going to apply it on the side of the nose. And I'm going to use the same brush. I'm not going to apply too much. I'm not getting really heavy with the nose contour here. I'm just giving a little bit of definition to the nose. Perfect. So good. Okay, next we're going to go and apply blush, and we are using one of my favorite blush products of all time. This is the Jane Iredale blush stick in the shade Balmy. It's been a while since I talked about this on my channel, but there was a period in time where I could not stop talking about this. This product, everything about this product is perfection. It's a cream blush stick. It has a good amount of pigment. I swatched it a few times here, so you're gonna see what it looks like when you really swatch and layer it. It's creamy, it blends out beautifully. It's so easy to work with. The shade is this really pretty peachy pink. The shade alone is gonna give you this youthful look to the skin. It really lights up the face. I think if you wanna take 10 years off the face, use a like peachy pink blush. Every time it'll do it. It just gives you that beautiful youthful glow. Because it's a cream formula, it's gonna give you a glow to the skin, but there's no shimmer to it or no like pearl particles. It's really easy to work with. I think I mentioned that already. Super blendable. You can get a very sheer light wash if you want with this, or you can build it up to get more opacity. So I'm going to use the 108 brush to apply the same brush that we used for the bronzer. And again, I'm going to go directly to the product versus swiping it on the face. Another reason I don't like to swipe products on the face is because it can disrupt your foundation or whatever products you have underneath it. So I just think using a brush is the best way. And I'm gonna really load this up. I always like to really load the brush up, but then I kind of blot it on my hand just to get an idea of how much is gonna come off. Always start with less, right? You can always build and add more, but if you go in with too much product, then you're in this area where you're trying to correct a mistake. Okay, let's talk about the right placement. So I like to look directly in the mirror. I like to smile, and I like to use the apple of the cheek as a guide, okay? So the correct place is to use the apple of the cheek, place it on the higher point of the cheek, like maybe not right directly in front, like right here, but like directly like at the very highest point of the apple. This is the apple, this is the highest point. So I'm gonna place it right there. I'm just gonna press this onto the skin. So I'm not swirling, I'm not sweeping, I'm just using the brush and pressing. And I'm going to kind of blend up. Now I've got quite a bit of product here, maybe a little too much. So I'm going to take my brush and kind of swatch it on a clean towel, and we're just going to blend this out. So you can't really see where it starts or where it stops, but the idea is having it placed right here, starting at the higher point of the cheek and blending up. This is just going to lift the cheek, being careful not to take too much of it over here. And if you ever feel like you do take too much over, which I do, just take a brush that you used for your foundation or your concealer, something that has skin tone product on it, and just kind of bounce it around the edge that you want to diminish. So I'm just kind of lightly, or almost erase right here. Perfect. Okay. So now do you see when I'm looking straight ahead, you can see some color and some blush, but it's definitely placed more on the side. So you see it when you're looking at the side of my face, so not so much when you're looking directly in front. Let's go ahead and do the other side, and let's do it a little bit heavier and kind of the most common blush mistake that I see us making. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to load the brush up with product. I'm going to smile, and I'm going to apply it on the apple of the cheek and really concentrate all of that product right there. I also want to say, you guys, makeup is personal, and if you do this and you love the way you look in it and you feel great in it, then by all means keep doing it, okay? You do what you feel beautiful in and what works best for you. These videos are just intended to kind of explain how makeup can enhance or alter the face. And if you're trying to, enhance your features or make an area look more prominent or more diminished, you can use these tips and tricks to do that. But again, if you do your blush like this and you love it, then by all means, keep doing it. So we're applying it pretty heavy there and just kind of straight back. We have blushed the same product, the same brush, but apply it in a different way. Do you see how this side of the face looks more lifted and this just tends to be a little bit more heavy and sunken? It's because what I'm doing is I'm bringing all of your attention right here. I don't want to bring all your attention right here. I want to bring your attention here. So that's the concept behind blush placement and how it tricks the eye. Okay, let's talk about texture because that's important too. So I just applied a cream blush that had no shimmer or pearlescent to it. And as you can see, I have a glow to the skin. The skin is very dewy and very glowy, right? But it doesn't magnify texture on the skin. I'm going to apply a blush that has a lot of shimmer and it's a powder. This is the L'Oreal True Match blush. And I was trying to search through my collection to look for a blush that had a lot of heavy pearlescent. And I don't actually have too much because most of the products that I keep are products that I enjoy and like. But this is a powder that does have some shimmer to it. So we're going to apply this onto the cheek and we're going to apply it just right over here. And I'm going to apply it on the area of my cheek where I do have larger pores, which is right here because I want to show you what shimmer can do to pores. It just kind of brings a magnifying glass to them, makes them more obvious. Okay, so let's see if we can zoom in a little bit, and I want you guys to look right here, right there at my pores. Do you see the texture that is very, very magnified? It's that shimmer, that shimmer that's just drawing your eye right to it and giving a highlight to those pores. So keep that in mind. If you have texture that you like to kind of diminish, I would stay away from powder products that have heavy shimmers. Now, if you prefer a powder blush, you can certainly find powder blushes that you can use that can still give a little bit of a glow without a shimmer. I found this one from L'Oreal. This is the Age Perfect Radiant Satin Blush. This has more of a satin formula, so it has a little bit of a sheen, not a shimmer, and that's the difference. It's a less heavy, sparkly product. So it'll give a little bit of sheen to the cheek without making the texture look more obvious. Another powder blush that I absolutely love, and it was actually one of the first products that I tried from Jane Iredale. I think like when I discovered the brand a couple years ago, I bought their Pure Pressed Base, and I think I bought this blush too. It's their powder blush in the shade Barely Rose. Now this formula, it's a powder, and when you look at it, it looks like a good old traditional matte blush, but when you put this on the skin, it also reflects light in a very subtle but beautiful way. I'm going to apply it on this side of the cheek, kind of on top of where we applied the cream blush. It's not going to give as much of a glow as you're going to get from the cream blush, but it will reflect light in the right setting and kind of give a very, very soft, radiant look. So I'm just going to apply this, and I'm going to apply it in the same area, right at the start at the apple of the cheek, but start at the higher point and kind of blend up. It's really pretty. And this is another hack you can do is you can always set your cream products with powder products. So the Barely Rose and the Balmy would actually pair really well together. If you want a powder and a cream formula that would work and pair really well together, these two shades would be great. But I love it. Do you see what that does? It just gives a really pretty soft sheen. It's not as glowy and dewy looking as the cream, but you still get a little bit of light reflection and highlight to the skin. So that wraps up this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure and watch this one next, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.